Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we just successfully put a satellite, well, mostly successfully put a satellite in orbit over Moho. There was some failure, but we had lots of Delta V, so we were able to correct it. Let's see, surface outposts, yeah, science data from space around Minmus we could actually do right now. That wouldn't be too bad. Science data from surface of the moon, that's not a thing we're going to do just now. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that science data from space around Minmus. That was not the tracking station. That's the tracking station. There we go. The Odd One Mark II Stupid Edition is orbiting Minmus, but I think we'll just go for a standard Odd One Mark II. And I just remembered that we never actually got the science off of that probe that we put over Moho, so we'll do that in a moment as well. Okay, let's see here. Where exactly is the thermometer on this thing? There it is. Log temperature. Transmit data. And contract complete. Easy peasy. Okay, back to the Space Center. So yeah, we need to hop over to our satellite in orbit over Minmus, which is the Snedgus Mark III, I believe. Or Odd One Mark III? Yeah, it's an Odd One Mark III. We'll fly this. We're pretty much done with Moho, as far as putting things in orbit and landing on Moho is concerned. We are not going to be landing a Kerbal on Moho because it's just too annoying. Okay, let's log the temperature here. And let's go ahead and transmit this. We won't get any data for transmitting that, but that's fine. And we're also going to do a mystery goo observation, since we apparently have one of those on this thing. And we should transmit that as well. Where is our mystery goo? Here it is. Review data. Oh, we'll get 25 science for that. That's not too bad. Transmit data. Excellent. Okay, back to the Space Center. So, as far as things that we're going to do in the Eve system go, we're going to land a Kerbal on Gilly. We're going to land a probe on Eve proper. However, I think the first thing we want to do is put a communication satellite in there. Now, an Odd One Mark III would really probably be overkill. It would do the trick. So let's go ahead and open up our Odd One Mark III. Let's see, that's the auto-saved edition. So let's try the regular saved edition. It should be the same thing. Oh my. I forgot the extreme lengths we went with this thing. Yeah. Well, this is gonna get there. That's for sure. We have tons of money, so we're not really concerned about that. So let's go ahead and launch this. I mean, there isn't much else to do. We need to get some satellites in orbit. I think we're going to put one in orbit over Gilly, in maybe a wacky orbit, and then one in an equatorial, kind of high orbit over Eve. This will probably be the one over Gilly, which means this is massively overkill. I like it. Engage autopilot. Let's do this. Okay. I would physics warp up during this, except I don't trust MechJeb to not start flipping with the physics warp. So we're not going to go ahead and do that just yet. We can close out this window. That'll be handy. And we are going to be needing the science window. I mean, not really needing, but it'll be useful. Please stop rolling, MechJeb. Thank you very much. You're still doing it, MechJeb. It's making me nervous and wasting fuel. I mean, we're not really concerned about wasting fuel, though. The thing that makes me nervous about it is if it detaches these tanks at exactly the wrong moment in this rock. That's what makes me nervous. But see, this right here, this is why I don't want to throttle up, or rather, why I don't... Not throttle up. What are you doing, MechJeb? No, seriously, what are you doing, MechJeb? I'm kind of confused. But see, this is why I don't want to physics warp during the ascent. is I don't trust MechJeb fully. I've seen it do some weird things, and this is one of them. We seem to be straightening out. Oh, lovely. It took out a fin. But that's okay. We aren't going to be needing those fins much longer anyway. It'll just make us a little off balance. But that's fine. Let's see. We are going to go ahead and manually deploy the fairing here pretty soon. Once we get to maybe about 45 kilometers. Maybe 50. Somewhere in there. MechJeb is supposed to stage the fairings, but it doesn't seem to do that anymore. I don't know why. I guess that got broken in one of the updates or something. But for right now, we are flying much better now that our side tanks have detached. I don't know, maybe we need to put fins on those as well. This thing's already pretty expensive. But let's go ahead and deploy our airstream. There we go. Once we hit space, MechJeb will auto-deploy the solar panels. I'm not entirely certain what MechJeb is doing with this roll. That's a little weird. Okay, we're now in space. So let's kill our rotation real quick so that MechJeb can recover this. Turn on RCS so that we can actually warp, so we can actually turn, and then we'll physics warp a little bit. Turn off the RCS. Dephysics warp right about now. And regular warp to kill our rotation right about now. There we go. Now MechJeb can take over and circularize. It is kind of awkward having that one gone. I'm not gonna lie. But we don't need it anymore anyway. MechJeb? Are you planning to fire? Any day now, MechJeb. There you go. Just had to turn on the RCS for a little bit to get it turned properly. Ugh. Sorry about the prolonged silence. Just suddenly had a coughing fit. And it's not done yet. Okay. I think maybe I'm good. Maybe. Oh, that was exciting. Okay, are we in orbit? Yes. We are indeed in orbit. So, at the periapsis, let's just go ahead and burn. We're going to burn prograde. And we're just going to keep on burning until we escape. That's not what we want. We don't want an encounter. We want to escape. Hang on, this is min-miss. This is going to be a while. Okay. There's an escape. Right about there. Maybe push it a little further, like 1 delta V. There we go. We can get rid of ascent guidance. And we're just going to execute this maneuver using MechJeb. There we go. And we actually have the delta V to escape with this, so that's good. I suspect I've made that observation before. Well, we can go ahead and physics warp so that we rotate a bit faster here. We can also turn on RCS. There we go. Dephysics warp, time warp up so that we kill our rotation. Oh look, there's one of our satellites. That's nice. So the real question is, when we put a Kerbal on Gilly, how much delta V are we going to need to get home? And I actually don't know the answer to that question. So I guess we'll overkill rather than underkill. Well, we'll probably be able to use like a nuclear engine or something. Gilly is really, really light on the gravity, so we don't need huge amounts of thrust to weight. So yeah, that would probably be fine. And that would lighten our lander significantly if we were able to drop the oxidizer out of those tanks. Also, this thing isn't executing the node. Come on, turn to it. There you go. Oh, lovely. You gotta love having a teeny tiny little reaction wheel in a giant rocket. It is truly glorious. But we should be able to still recover this just fine. Ish. Just fine-ish. Node in T plus 50 seconds. It'll be fine. We may slightly undershoot, but no, looks like we're golden. Okay. Well done, MechJeb. Call it a day there. Go on to kill rotation. And now we just need to basically warp until we escape. So let's go ahead and warp up to... Well, we'll warp to here for now. Goodbye, Moon. We don't care about you anymore. Goodbye, Kerbal. Okay, so we are on our way out of the Kerbal system. We are, of course, targeting Eve. So we're going to go ahead and set this as our target. It's only 2.1 degrees off in terms of the plane, so that's nice. Yeah, this is going to be so much overkill, it's not even funny. Like, we're going to have literally tons of Delta V left. Literally tons. Okay, we need to escape. So we need to go ahead and warp to here. There we go. Now we need to warp a little bit longer until we're actually officially escaped, which we now are. Okay, so here's our orbit. So we need to match planes with the target. We'll burn at the descending node here in 74 days. And let's see what exactly this does to our maneuver. Well, that was way too much. Something like 0.10. I like it. Execute that node. We'll go ahead and physics warp up. We have 74 days to get there, so I don't see any reason to burn any RCS here. Okay, fine, I'll burn RCS. There. Happy? Now it'll take a little bit less long. Okay, physics warp on down, time warp up. Burn some RCS to point in the correct direction. There we go. Once MechJeb starts yawing over the other way, well, they already are, actually. So let's go ahead and just throttle up. I keep saying that. Let's go ahead and warp up, and now MechJeb will take care of it. Excellent. Okay, so in 70 days, we will be making this burn, which will put us in the plane of Eve. There we go. Now, I don't exactly know how fast Eve is moving. It's moving a lot slower than Moho, obviously, since its orbit is a fair amount bigger. Okay. Go ahead and RCS on. There you go. Excellent. So, we now have our planes matched. I guess I'm going to do this one largely manually. I'm not going to do a... Well, I might do a Hohmann transfer if I completely fail it. There we go. Kill that rotation. And now, somewhere around here, we'll just do a retrograde burn. Okay. Target position would be here, and closest approach would be there. So let's just see. I mean, we get an intercept if we burn right here. That's not too bad. We'll focus on Eve for now. That's actually a pretty nice intercept as it is. Although I would like to adjust it ever so slightly to be about 28,000 kilometers out. I mean, we do cross the orbit of Gilly like this, but we don't necessarily have to. But I think this is good. We ultimately want to put this over Gilly, so that's fine. We'll go ahead and execute this node. Turn on RCS for just really quick here while we start moving in that direction. There we go. And we'll warp up. Physics warp off. And regular warp on. And now MechJeb will take it from here. So we have to do basically a full orbit here, which is a little bit obnoxious, to be sure. This is going to be basically an entire year for this to happen. If we had used MechJeb, we probably could have found a closer home and transfer, but this is fine. What could go wrong? So we are going to burn out this first stage, finally, during our transfer burn. That's fine. That is completely fine. We've gone about 100 days here. We have another 200 to go. So that's exciting. Why are these all lagging so far behind Kerbal? Like, I don't think the KSC is in the middle of space. I'm confused. Whatever. It is a little strange that this is the fastest warp that it can go, that it takes this long to warp a year. That's a little odd to me. But whatever. We'll be there in another 40 days. We're just about in position for this burn. Okay, here we go. 1 day left. There we go. 23 seconds estimated burn. Well, it'll probably be longer than that, because we can only burn a little under half of it with this engine, and then we're going to be burning with this one. Which is probably why MechJeb padded the time. Okay, that one's burned out. And off we go with our nuclear engine. With our massive overkill. MechJeb did not pad the time enough. Well, we'll have to see if MechJeb actually pulls this off. We may have to adjust our orbit manually a little bit. Gilly's orbit is pretty wacky, isn't it? Look at that. Well, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind a polar orbit around Gilly, actually. But for right now, we just want to get an orbit in the Eve system. That's more important. With this amount of delta V, we'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and physics warp up. This is going to be a lengthy burn. Not as lengthy as our braking burn is going to be. Although that won't be as bad as it is for Moho, for sure. Like, all things considered, the delta V to Eve isn't too bad. There we go, 100 more meters per second. And once we get in the Eve sphere of influence, our thrust-to-weight ratio will go up substantially, which will be nice. Thrust-to-weight around the moon, and by the moon, I mean the sun, is always kind of terrible. I don't know why I meant the sun and said the moon. A very strange thing to do. But we're going to go ahead and add a maneuver here. It'll be a braking maneuver. And we're going to do something along the lines of this. Bare minimum brake. That's not bad. 475 meters per second. That's actually quite good. We're going to go ahead and execute that node in 161 days. So, should probably go ahead and physics warp up. We're actually rotating pretty well here without RCS. I don't really want to have what happened with that Moho probe happen again. So we're not going to be using this RCS for now. We are almost in position here. Okay, going to go ahead and physics warp down. And now time warp up right about... Now it's good. There we go. And off we go for 161 days. We are currently on our way to Eve. We are in a transfer orbit right now. We're going to need to be doing a braking burn once we get there. We've already got that queued up. As you can see, our distance to Kerbal is increasing appreciably as we drift slowly towards Eve, which should be starting to become visible relatively soon. Out this way-ish. Actually, I think... Yeah, we're now in Eve influence. It's right there. There it is. Excellent. Don't see Gilly yet. We will see it soon, I'm sure. Soon-ish. Actually, I think we're currently inside the orbit of Gilly, correct? Yeah, we are. It's currently pretty close to its apoapsis, though, so it's really far away from here. That's fine. Gilly is really small, so it's not a surprise that we can't see it. It's the, I believe, the smallest major body in the KSP system. So that's going to be one of the easiest places for us to get. So that's, you know, exciting. So we're going to put this thing in what? A polar orbit over Gilly? World first milestone. We initiated the first flyby of Eve. That's fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and time warp this up real quick. There we go. This thing is so much overkill. And we probably didn't even need the radiators. But, I mean, it's still pretty warm over here. Once we leave the Eve system, we are definitely going to be ditching the radiators, because heat will no longer be a problem for sure. I mean, heat's probably not going to be a problem here. I mean, we're currently sitting at 15% cooling capacity. Okay, let's go ahead and physics warp down. We should now be in orbit. Excellent. We have initiated the first orbit of Eve. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and get ourselves a Gilly orbit. So we'll set Gilly as our target. Our ascending node is really wacky. I suspect that means we're going the wrong direction. So let's go ahead and just add our apoapsis, which is already at the very edges of the Eve gravitational influence. Let's just go ahead and flip our orbit. There we go. Much better. So we are going to go ahead and do this burn. I want our periapsis outside of Gilly's orbit, although we can lower it a little bit. Something along the lines of that. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Execute that node. Physics warp on up. This is going to be another 500 meter per second burn. That's not too bad. We have another 8,000 in the tank. It's kind of extreme. And we're not going to be doing any of these. We're going to be doing these with Gilly, not with Eve, because we're going to put another, possibly 2 satellites in orbit over Eve before we try to land anything. I think one is probably sufficient. One more. So this flight's been going on for 1 year, 232 days. We might have some contracts timing out on us at some point, but it's fine. We have so much money. We have so much money. Minute and a half on this. This will be firing very, very momentarily. There we go. Gonna go ahead and physics warp up so that we get through this burn slightly quicker. But I'm also going to go ahead and put a cut in here. And next episode, we'll be finishing this insertion into Gilly orbit. See you all then.